7 years later, millions still call him king. And in Clemmer's Corner tonight, Ronnie Clemmer tells us about Elvis Mania in Boston.
It's hard to get past that Roger. That was great, wasn't it? You know, I still remember where I know he's just coming back and everything. He's still thinking. I still remember where I was when I heard about the death of Elvis. I was on the streets of Edinburgh, Scotland, and I saw it in a big newspaper. And it's one of those events you never forget because he was larger than life. He was the son of a sewing machine operator and a truck driver. He was born January the 8th, 1935 in East Tupelo, Mississippi. Not exactly a normal springboard to stardom. And yet that was a large part of his mystique. He was one of us. He was a commoner who was elected to the throne and thereby won our absolute and undying devotion.
Walking through a party in the county jail. Prison band was there, they began to wail. Band was jumping and the joint began to swing.
He was a talent agent's dream, a strong voice, a southern boy's charm, and an instinct for movement that drove fans wild, captivating a whole generation.
Elvis put across haircuts, clothes, the way to act. I think he did a big thing for motorcycles. I mean, I'm not quite sure, but the singing, he was a major influence in music in a culture. Elvis was the 50s.
At this golden anniversary Elvis party in Marshfield over the weekend, Elvis was the 80s, the once and future king of rock and roll.
Yeah, definitely. No one's forgotten about him. He's still here in everybody's heart.
Anybody nowadays couldn't beat him. Couldn't beat him.
So instead, the approach is to join him. And Elvis impersonators like Stan Jr. draw huge crowds all over the country.
We shut off ticket sales as a sellout the day before New Year's, and we have had at least 300 phone calls since then looking for tickets to get here tonight.
Everywhere I go, his fans come out in droves. There are a lot of them out there, and it hasn't faded. It hasn't faded one bit.
My picture's in my pocketbook.
What is it?
These are pictures of Graceland and Elvis's grave. I'm looking for the good one of his grave.
Half of them never even saw him in person. Probably during the 70s they caught one show. But other than that, they just saw him on that big screen. That was Elvis to them. So to a lot of them, he's not dead.
98.5 WROR with WROR's Joe Marteile, along with your requests from the 50s and 60s. Tonight, musically remembering the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley.
When WROR had their special tribute to Elvis on Saturday night, the request lines went crazy. And callers talked about the king as if he were still a current star.
My girl, a lady that I used to waitress with, her sister went out with Elvis.
Went out with Elvis?
Went out, yeah.
Now, wait a minute. Now, we have to have proof on this.
Elvis had that combination of sexuality, but there was a little bit of innocence about him, too. And I think that's what everybody grabbed onto and held onto for so many years.
That walking with the pelvis, it was great.
You didn't mind the
gyrations?
Elvis pelvis?
No, that didn't matter. I just eliminated that.
I don't think it'll ever die. I really don't.
He's never gonna die. Not in anybody's mind.
Never gonna die. You play his records, he still lives. He's gonna live forever.
Just now, and the door will be open. What's that, Scott?
The king is dead, long live the king. You would have had to have been at the Bridgeway Inn in Marshfield Saturday night to believe the energy level, the concert intensity of that crowd. Even for Stan Jr., the Elvis impersonator, there was a sense of reverence for Elvis and everything about the evening. It was incredible.